This is for all of the BTV family out there. We have done something historical today. Love you. The first thing we need to do when we get to Egypt is do our ritual in the pyramids. Everybody says there's a dark energy in the pyramids and all this, but I think the pyramids themselves are an energy source and a conduit of energy. So in order to get ourselves in the right frequency, we have to go to that energy source first before we go to the temples. Ayahuasca is a hallucinogenic plant-based medicine found in the Amazonian jungle. Its primary component is dimethyltryptamine, also known as DMT. Many people have traveled to the Amazon to seek out ayahuasca to cure things like physical ailments, addictions, traumas, and gain spiritual enlightenment. The normal dose of ayahuasca in the Amazon contains about 10 to 15 milligrams of DMT. Dr. Rick Strassman is a scientist from New Mexico who received a 7-year license from the DEA to conduct research into DMT. As detailed in his book, DMT, the Spirit Molecule, at higher doses, most of his test subjects experienced contact with otherworldly entities. His volunteers were given between 60 and 100 milligram doses and reported leaving their bodies and going to other worlds. Oh, by the way, his research was funded by the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry. Why were the Freemasons so interested in DMT? But hold that thought for now. People who have experienced DMT have reported similar sights and sounds as people who have had near-death experiences. Because of our desire to fully understand what lays beyond the veil, we have incrementally worked ourselves up to 1,000 and 1,500 milligram doses in order to break further and further into this unexplored realm. In the Great Pyramid, we would push the limits with 4,000 milligram doses. But don't worry. A potentially lethal dose for a large male is approximately 10,000 milligrams, so we had plenty of room to work with. Still, we do not advise that anyone tries this. Throughout the course of the last decade, we have unlocked knowledge of our ancient souls, which has led us on a journey to Egypt to retrieve sacred gnosis from within the stones and activate these ancient sites. In this film, we will detail the journey which has led us to the Temple of Hatchepsut for an ayahuasca ceremony. We will detail the rituals performed at the Temple of Isis in Philae to clear out the energies, reclaim the temple, and contact the goddess in an ayahuasca ceremony within the inner sanctum. And finally, we will discuss the revelations about the true purpose of the Great Pyramid and take you with us through this moving ritual into the Sub-Terranean Chamber, into the Queen's Chamber, and step into the sarcophagus of the King's Chamber to launch our consciousness into the 13th density with the tools utilized by the ancient Egyptians. In the book, Stone Age Psychedelia, author, filmmaker, and radio show host Christopher Everard details how psychedelic plants like the mushroom and the blue lotus flower were revered in ancient Egypt. On many of the temple walls, you can see depictions of the psychedelic blue lotus flower, and many of the temple pillars are modeled after the stems of psychedelic mushrooms. But most interesting of all, you can also find motif after motif of the pharaohs, priests, and priestesses drinking liquid and receiving information from within the acacia, also known as the Egyptian Tree of Life. There are various species of acacia, including Mimosa hostilis, found in the Amazonian jungles of South America, the Acacia confucia, found in Taiwan and Hawaii, and the Acacia nilotica, found on the River Nile. While DMT is found in various plants and animals throughout the world, one of the heaviest concentrations can be found in the various species of acacia, which contains between 1 and 1.7% dimethyltryptamine. It seems as though the ancient Egyptians are pretty clear. If you want to commune with the gods and goddesses, you need to use the acacia. And that's exactly what we intended to do in Egypt. The acacia is not only the central point of Egyptian mythology, but also of Freemasonry, which arguably is the continuation of the Egyptian mystery schools and the Osirian legends. In Masonic lodges around the world, you can find depictions of the acacia. In ancient Egypt, it was believed that the devil god Set kidnapped his brother Osiris, chopped his body up into 13 pieces, and buried him underneath an acacia. In Freemasonry, the original master mason, Hiram Abiff, was also buried under the acacia after his murder. According to Duncan's Masonic Ritual and Monitor, the initiate is raised in the 3rd degree as a master mason from the acacia. Oh, and by the way, that burning bush, you guessed it, an acacia. Suddenly, it becomes quite clear as to why the Scottish Rite was so eager to fund the work of Dr. Rick Strassman, and why working with the acacia over the last decade has repeatedly resulted in contact with the Egyptian Pantheon. But most importantly, initiated us into the ancient mysteries, revealing to us the deeply guarded secrets of the nature of reality. It was with this gnosis that we began our mission to Egypt to reset the Matrix.